What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Sloppy Saturdays. And today we are going over the projected college football playoff bracket. It has just came out. I'm going to go over my thoughts with it. Now, I know it was very controversial last year how the bracket was set up. But again, it was the first year of the bracket. They now changed a bunch of things. It's going to be based more on rankings, less on conference winners. So we're going to go over everything. We're going to go over all the projection, who on the outside could possibly make it as well. And we're going to go over, I don't know how to say it, I guess my discomfort on certain conferences and certain teams being projected in this bracket. How much can they actually contend in the college football playoffs? We're going to go over everybody 1 through 12, like I said, and the outsiders. Let's get right into it. So now coming in at the number 1 seed, we have Ohio State. Now, I'm going to try to not glaze this team so much, but it is absolutely absurd how good Ohio State is. It's ridiculous. You can't even, words can't even describe it. I'm going to go over them a little bit, but I think they're pretty much ruining the college football playoffs for everything else, for everybody else, because I think they are a step above everybody else in college football this year. I think they're the clear-cut favorite winner. And again, this year we have seen, I don't want to go too strongly on something, but I got it with Ohio State. But we've seen this year the amount of upsets, the amount of things that we thought that just flat out didn't happen. But this team is just flat out a step above everybody in college football. And I'm going to go over why. First off, obviously, Ryan Day, great coach. He proved that last year, winning the national championship. But again, this team last year had a historic composite ranking. Like, how talented they were last year was historic. This year, they are even better. Now, the reason they're even better, the first reason, I believe there are two reasons. First reason, the defense last year was great. The defense this year, it's historic. And it comes down to really two things. One, obviously, the talent on this defense. You have Caleb Downs. I believe he is a generational safety. Again, you could debate everything. I think he's the best player in college football. A lot of people don't think so because he does play the safety position. A lot of people believe that's a luxury position. That's an ancillary piece. But Caleb Downs is a Swiss Army knife. I truly believe he is the leader of this defense. I think he could do a bunch of different things. It's going to be very interesting to see where he goes in the NFL draft, how high people are willing to take a safety. But this guy is generational at the safety position. You have Averill Reese, who is arguably the best linebacker in the country, Sonny Styles. I mean, you could go on and on. Igabunson, like this defense, talent-wise, it's ridiculous. But I think the thing that makes this defense different is is Matt Patricia. Matt Patricia coming in as a defensive coordinator. He is by far the best defensive coordinator in the country with the amounts of hats he wore in his career as a defensive coordinator in the NFL, as a head coach in the NFL. Bringing in a guy with this type of experience, I believe, just makes this defense absolutely historic and shut down. I mean, we're looking at a defense that lets up single-digit points average per game. You know how hard that is? It's ridiculous, and I believe him constructing this defense, calling the plays, putting quarterbacks in absolute fits, because he's throwing out NFL schemes at these offenses with the talent he has. It makes this team so much better than last year. And then what also makes this team better than last year, in my opinion, is Julian Sain. I had questions how Julian Sain was going to be going into this year. I didn't know if he was going to be, a bus rider or a bus driver. But Julian Sain, there is no doubt that he is a bus driver. He's going to be a guy that they're going to win because of in the college football playoffs. He's ridiculous. I mean, when you look at Julian Sain, what he did against Penn State, nearly perfect. And again, you could say Penn State was disappointing this year, which again, they 100% were. But their defense is still intact. Julian Sain shredded them up, only had 3 incompletions. And I get it. He arguably has the 2 best receivers in the country, in Jeremiah Smith, in Cardinal Tate. But this guy finds them. Julian Sain does not blink. He is extremely accurate. He throws with anticipation, and he doesn't make any mistakes. In my opinion, Julian Sain is a top 3 quarterback in the country, and that's the difference between this team last year and this year. Like, I really liked Will Howard. I think he turned it up in the college football playoffs. I think he's definitely one of the reasons they won last year. But him compared to Julian Sain, not even a competition. Julian Sain is one of the best quarterbacks in the country, and I believe that sets them apart from where they were last year as a national championship winner, which is even crazy. And I believe they have the two best coordinators in the country because I believe Brian Hartline should be a head coach in college football. If you guys haven't followed me, I've discussed that time and time again. Not only is he the best recruiter on the best recruiting team in the country, he also is great, really just managing all these egos and all these talents. The amount of receivers he have put in the NFL and how great these receivers look and how great this offense looks like. Again, for all those reasons, I believe Ohio State is by far the number one seed, and I believe really nothing could change that. Again, if Indiana were to beat them in the Big Ten championship, that would change it, but I don't see that happening. I think Ohio State is by far the best team. Like I said, the defense is historic. Julian Sain is not a bus rider. He's a bus driver. I don't care what anybody says. He hasn't blinked this whole season. He has taken the reins of this offense and took it to another level. And again, I want to discuss it too. Cardinal Tate, absolutely absurd. I believe right now, again, he's a top three receiver in the country. You could debate him or Jordan Tyson, in my opinion, or Mekhi Lemon. But I think Cardinal Tate, you could argue with any receiver in the country. He has been absolutely feeding off of Jeremiah Smith. I believe he moves like Devontae. And again, we are seeing something with this Ohio State team with Jeremiah Smith that these receivers around him get underrated. These playmakers around him get underrated. Even though you had a guy in Emeka Buka last year that was a first round pick, the hype going into that draft with him just wasn't where it should be, in my opinion, even though he was a first rounder. And now you look at Emeka Buka in the NFL, he's an absolute star. You're going to see the same thing with Cardinal Tate. The way he moves, again, like I said, his route running is flawless. His contested catching, he wins out more than anybody in college football in contested catching. Again, they have two absolute stars. Julian Sayin knows how to get them the ball. Again, he reminds me a lot of Joe Burrow. Again, Joe Burrow's Heisman season, you could argue, was the best Heisman season ever. But Julian Sayin gives me shades of Joe Burrow. Not only is he accurate, not only does he have anticipation, but this guy also knows how to get the two best receivers in the country, arguably, the ball perfectly. Ohio State, by far the number one team. I don't want to continue to glaze them because I could do it all day. I don't see them changing from number one at all. Then we have Indiana at two. Indiana at two, for me, they took a complete step up from last year. Last year, I believe they were a team that fed off a Big Ten schedule. They made the college football playoffs, but they showed in that Notre Dame game last year that they weren't true title contenders. This year, they're true title contenders. They're the second best team in the country. I don't see much change in that. They play Penn State. They play Indiana. They play Wisconsin. They play Purdue. So I believe those will be three easy wins for them. And I think they should shoot into the college football playoffs. I don't think a Big Ten loss will really matter for them necessarily. I think they should remain at two. Again, if Texas A&M were to remain undefeated, who we're going to get into next, that might maybe make them the three seed. But again, Indiana, I believe the weapons they have are phenomenal. Again, a team like Ohio State, where the quarterback play took a jump last year. Again, Rourke was great last year. Mendoza's even better. The amount of weapons they have in this offense, I believe they have two legit number one receivers in Elijah Sarrett and Omar Cooper Jr. I believe they have multiple running backs that can run the football, but I believe Roman Hemby, again, is a top running back in the country. And I think this defense is even better than last year. Kurt Cinetti, you could argue, is the best coach in college football. I think, again, the Big Ten championship is definitely going to come down to Ohio State and Indiana. I think Ohio State's going to win that, but I think Indiana is for sure going to be a top three seed in the country if they only got one loss and it's their Big Ten championship loss. Then we get into Texas A&M. Texas A&M, I think you could argue right there with Ohio State has the most explosive offense in the country. And it comes down to Marcel Reed being a dual threat quarterback. I believe what he's able to do running the football, what he's able to do throwing the football. And I think the two weapons they have in this offense, when you look at Mario Craver, Casey Concepcion, again, you're really seeing the makings in these top three seeds of two complete number one receivers on all these teams. And then you're looking at a game-changer quarterback. I believe Marcel Reed is that. Now, again, we looked at Marcel Reed take a jump last year to this year, and I think it really comes down to the game change he has at receivers, letting him throw the ball a lot more. And I believe he can win games with his arms. I truly believe that. Again, do I think he's going to have to cut down some of these turnovers? 100%. They do have a great running back in Le'Veon Moss. They do have multiple really good running backs that they put in. The defense is what really worries me about this Texas A&M team, but I think this offense can score anybody. This offense could put up 40 on anybody. The defense is what scares me, though, a little bit. We've seen games where this defense has completely locked in. We've seen other games where they haven't. But again, Texas A&M has very impressive wins. They're undefeated right now in the SEC. You really can't deny what they have been doing. I believe they should be a top 4 seed. Again, it's going to be interesting to see how everything edges out because they do play Texas at the end of the year. That's going to be a very tough game for their last game. I don't know if that's going to push them out of the SEC championship. We'll see. But Texas A&M should definitely make the college football playoffs. They're definitely one of the best teams in the country. Then we get into Alabama as well. Alabama is a team that I believe has so much room to grow. When you look at Alabama, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I do believe Ty Simpson is the best quarterback in the entire country. I think what he's able to do pre-snap read is absolutely elite, better than anybody in the country. And I think he throws with more anticipation than anybody in the country as well. I think Alabama is a team, like I said, who hasn't completely reached their ceiling. I do think the defense is really good, but my issue is I don't think they got the most out of their offense. I'm going to say it right now. Their running game out of Jam Miller. We know Jam Miller has been hurt, but I think Jam Miller can be truly elite game to game in the college football playoffs. I don't think we have seen that yet. And my biggest question, obviously, is Ryan Williams. I think Ryan Williams is the most talented player in the country. You guys know he's my favorite player in the country. There have been issues with drops. There have been issues with run blocking. There's been issues with how devoted he is in that offense. But again, I think if Alabama is going to make a national championship run, Ryan Williams has to be the best player on this offense, the best target on this offense. But again, Jeremy Bernard has really stepped up. He's another guy who's a Swiss Army knife on, again, offense. He reminds me of like a Debo Samuel. I'm not going to lie to you guys. As much as I love Ryan Williams, Jeremy Bernard has been the best pass catcher on this offense. But again, I think they could get more out of Ryan Williams, more out of Jam Miller. And my other issue with this Alabama team is just how they are able to defend ultra mobile quarterbacks. That's going to be my issue with them on their defense because we have seen an upset in the beginning of the year against a Florida State team who really is not that good that had an ultra mobile quarterback. We've seen things get dicey in the end against South Carolina who have an ultra mobile quarterback, but we know that team again isn't on the level of Alabama. So how are they going to be able to defend an ultra mobile quarterback? I feel like again them facing Texas A&M could be a challenge. We just talked about how Marcel Reed is very dynamic with his legs, and that offense allows him to pass the ball. Again, Alabama has always had issues defending these mobile quarterbacks. That has always been what upset them. That's my one question with them. And then again, can they get the most out of Ryan Williams? The one thing I do have to say, I don't know if this SEC championship is going to shake out as Alabama, Texas A&M. You got multiple teams that we're going to talk about. Ole Miss, Georgia, that also have one loss. I just want to know is getting a loss in the SEC championship help you over these teams or hurt you? I really hope making it to the SEC championship helps you. I really hope that if it's Alabama, Texas A&M, and one of them losing a close game, that and Ole Miss, that of Georgia doesn't jump them. Even if it's an Alabama with 2 losses compared to a Georgia that may finish out with 1 loss, or an Ole Miss that may finish out as 1 loss. I hope making the SEC championship and you lose helps you over those other SEC teams than hurt you. We're gonna have to see how that shakes out. Now we're gonna get into number 5, Georgia. Again, Georgia has put on heroics late in games, but they have played a lot of close games. They played a close game with Ole Miss. They played a close game with Tennessee. Again, this is where I see a significant drop off with title contenders. I don't think Ole Miss, I don't think Georgia is one of the best teams in college football. Wait, let me preface that. I think they're one of the best teams in college football. I don't think they're a true national championship contender, though, yet. Because, again, I don't think they have enough on this offense to be a true national championship contender. I think, again, guy like Gunnar Stockton has ice in his veins. I don't think he's to the level of the quarterbacks we just mentioned. I just don't. I don't think he's a top 5 quarterback in the country, and I don't think they have enough elite weapons or any elite weapons in the SEC necessarily to make them have a national championship run. I hope they prove me wrong. And again, the defense hasn't been great in monster games. They have to win late with Gunnar Stockton having ice in games, but these games are also shootouts. I don't like this Georgia defense. again, being one of the best Georgia defenses I have seen in the last 10 years. Again, I really don't think it's there. I don't think Hunter Stockton is one of the best quarterbacks in the country. I don't think they have enough weapons. I think they could get to a 5, 6, 7 seed without a doubt. They are one of the best teams in the country, but I don't think they're a national championship contender. Major concerns with Georgia. Now we're going to go over Ole Miss. I love Ole Miss. And again, it's crazy because Georgia beat Ole Miss, but I really like Ole Miss. Again, do I trust the coach in Lane Kiffin? Yeah, 100%. I think he has a lot to prove with his name being everywhere. I love Trinidad Chambliss. I think Trinidad Chambliss is one of the best quarterbacks in college football. I think the reason why a lot of people haven't gravitated towards that take is because of just the way he came up. Obviously, he was a Division II quarterback last year. But again, I think the offense is explosive. I think he's an absolute game changer running and throwing the football. I think Ole Miss is really good. Again, this is again where we break from national championship contender just because of how high Ohio State is above everybody right now. I really only believe there's only 3 or 4 true national championship contenders. I don't know if Ole Miss, if they play in Ohio State, if they play in Indiana, if they're necessarily going to win that game. But I trust them a little more than Georgia right now just because of that game changer they have at quarterback. They're at 6, obviously, in the college football playoff rankings. Now we're getting into 7, BYU. BYU's tough. I think it's super impressive what BYU has done this year. I think BYU has always been a team where they beat everybody they should have. But I think this BYU team has clear limitations. I think their run game with Bear Backamere and with LJ Martin has been really good. Again, they do have some playmakers on the outside. I think them with a true freshman quarterback in Bear Backamere who isn't able to make every throw in the field. I do think they have limitations. I think their defense is really good. I'm questionable with putting 2 Big 12 teams in right now. But if you're going to put any Big 12 team in, I believe it has to be Texas Tech, who comes in at 8. It's going to be interesting. It's going to depend on who wins the Big 12 championship. But I think Texas Tech is the only team in the Big 12 right now without any limitations. I believe whether it's Will Hammond or Barron Morton, they're able to throw the hell out of the football. I believe their defense is way much more improved. And I think there's nothing that their offense can't do. Their offense can score with the best of them. Their defense is really good. And we knew Texas Tech was going to be a contender this year just based on how much they put into this program. I absolutely love Texas Tech. I think they're the best team in the Big 12. They're actually going to face BYU this week. That's going to be where college game day is. I think Texas Tech is going to destroy BYU. I think they're going to expose BYU. I do think the Big 12 championship is going to come between those two teams, though. And I think they're both going to make it regardless. But again, BYU to me has limitations. Texas Tech doesn't. I really like Texas Tech. Again, they scored so much last year as well. I think the difference is between last year and this year, again, how short up that defense is. I think Texas Tech is really good. I think they're a really good college football playoff team. I think they're a team that could win a game or two in the college football playoffs. Not really a game because, again, they would probably match up against Ohio State. But I think they're a really good team. And then you have Oregon at 9. Oregon is going to be that team to me that they were kind of Ohio State last year in the sense of they have really not much of a chance to make the Big Ten championship, but they're going to be that third Big Ten team that really gets in. I think Oregon's a really good football team. I really do. I mean, when you look at Indiana, that game came down to the wire. They played Penn State. That was a tougher game at the time than it obviously is now for teams, but that game came down to the wire. They won. I think Oregon's a really good team. I think Oregon has Dante Moore, could probably the best pure passer in all of college football. I think he's extremely smart. Again, what they have on offense is really going to be the deciding factor for me because I do think their defense is pretty solid. I love Dan Lanning as a coach. Their offense is going to be the difference for me. You have Kenyon Sadiq, who's the best tight end in the country. But again, is he going to be able to have that production on offense that separates them? Decoria Moore, you could argue, is one of the best freshmen in the country as well. But what do they get after that? I really like Oregon, though, still. I think Oregon is definitely going to make the college football playoffs. I think they're a really good football team. And I'm kind of at the same spot with Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame is going to win out. I think they're 100% going to make the college football playoffs. I really like their team. I think CJ Carr settled in. I think they have pass catchers. But again, my thing with Notre Dame is their defense is pretty good. And I think their defense has settled in also. And I think they have one of the best players in the country in Jeremiah Love. And I think Jadarian Price is also an NFL back in that offense. I absolutely love their run game. Their run game is going to open things up for them against pretty much any team in the country. Their defense has settled in. CJ Carr settled in. And again, you're looking at a team that I believe really didn't benefit from their schedule. I know it's ironic to say that from an independent team, but they had their 2 toughest matchups again, and they play Texas A&M down to the wire. Texas A&M we have is the third best team in the country and national championship contender. They lost to them by 1 point. So I mean, I really like Notre Dame. Everything they could do. 11, Virginia. This is where I have a very hot take. I don't think Virginia is that good at all. I think Virginia hasn't really been tested. They were tested really one game against Louisville, and I think Louisville's a really good team. I think Louisville's a better team than Virginia, honestly. I think they just, again, it was a matchup. It was a game that came down to the wire. There should only be one team that's going to make the college football playoffs in the ACC. This ACC is weak because we thought Miami was going to be there. We thought Clemson was going to be there in the beginning of the year. Both of those teams aren't going to be there. But my hot take with Virginia, it's going to be interesting to see who they play in the ACC championship because Georgia Tech has a tough remaining schedule. Same with Louisville. But if they play one of those teams in the ACC championship, I like both of those teams better. I said I like Louisville's defense a little bit better. And I think Louisville has two absolute elite weapons in Brown and Bell. And I like Georgia Tech as well. I think Georgia Tech has more experience, and I think Georgia Tech has a lot more of an identity. Again, I'm really hoping, I'm rooting for Virginia Tech not to make it. I'm hoping it's a different ACC team that I believe are better teams. But if it's Virginia, it's Virginia. And then my biggest question mark with this college football playoff bracket is Memphis. Memphis comes in as the group of five. You need a group of five team. Memphis is going to be that team most likely. They're not even in the top 25. Again, whoever plays them pretty much is going to get a bye. My biggest question to you guys to end this video, do you think a group of five team needs to make the college football playoffs? I believe it should truly depend on putting a group of five team in if they deserved to make it. Again, we saw a group of five team last year have arguably the best player in the country in Ashton Genty and competed with a team that was the number one team in the country for a while in Oregon. I don't believe Memphis has necessarily proved that they should make the college football playoffs, but a group of five team needs to make it right now. Should the college football playoffs change that? That's my question to you guys. Then you also got teams on the outside. A team like Texas, if they were able to ride this momentum and win out, I think they could be a team that could definitely make the college football playoffs, especially over a, you know, one of these Big 12 teams. And then who else you got? Oklahoma, I really don't like. I think Oklahoma has limitations on offense. I think Utah has limitations on offense for sure. They can't pass the ball outside the numbers. Um, Vanderbilt's in there as well. They would have to win out. I don't really see them doing that. I think Miami already lost it. I think USC isn't going to win out as well. So those are teams on the outside as well. Drop down below your thoughts on this initial college football playoff bracket rankings as it came out. That wraps up this episode of Sloppy Saturdays, and we are out.